So, my ladies, ever had a gut punch from nowhere that kept you from a total shitstorm chuckles? I'm John Doe, your 58-year-old yarn spinner from New York's rough and tumble streets, here to dish a tale that'll make your martini glass tremble. Picture me, graybeard, whiskey in hand, spilling truth like it's poker night with you gals. We're heading to Miami tonight, where Silas Admo, a hotshot with a penthouse life, gets rocked by Dupé, a maid who smells trouble like a bloodhound. It's gritty, it's raw, and it'll hit you right in the feels. So, cozy up, my ladies, grab that wine, and let's dive in. Drop a comment. What's your wildest gut check moment? Hit that subscribe button. We're in for a hell of a ride. Ready? Let's roll. The Miami skyline glowed like molten gold, kissed by a purple dusk that made the city look like it was flexing for the gods. On the rooftop of his Coconut Grove mansion, Silas Admo stood tall, the ocean breeze ruffling his tailored blazer like it was trying to whisper secrets. At 45, he was a legend born in the cracked alleys of Little Havana, now Lord of Admo Properties, his name carved into Miami's condos, hotels, and beachfront palaces. But tonight, his jaw was tight, his dark eyes locked on the helicopter idling a few feet away, its blades chopping the air with a hungry growl. He was late for a Key West meeting, a deal worth millions, and the investors weren't the patient type. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Toby, his business partner, probably bitching about the delay. Silas ignored it, adjusting his cufflinks, ready to march to the chopper. Then the rooftop door slammed open, and the world tilted. Mr. Admo, don't get on that chopper. The voice was a desperate scream, slicing through the rotor's roar. Silas spun, his loafers scraping the concrete. Dupé, the new maid, stood there, her chest heaving, sweat gleaming on her brown skin. Barely 22, short as a spark plug. She wore a faded t-shirt and jeans, her hair yanked back in a no-nonsense ponytail. Her eyes, wide and fierce, pinned him like she'd seen his obituary. It's gonna crash. You're gonna die. Silas froze, his hand hovering over his cufflink. The pilot, a grizzled guy in aviators, poked his head out, squinting like he'd heard wrong. Down below, Miami thrummed car horns blaring on Ocean Drive, salsa beats pulsing from a distant club, the salty sea air mingling with jet fuel's sharp bite. But up here, it was like the air had thickened, Dupé's words hanging heavy. What the hell you talking about? Silas's voice was low, irritation crackling like static. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by the help. Dupé had been with them 3 weeks, a ghost in the mansion, scrubbing floors and folding linens without a word. Now she was yelling like she owned the damn place. Dupé stepped forward, her sneakers squeaking, her hands twisting her shirt's hem. I heard her, Mr. Admo, Mrs. Admo, on the phone last night. She said, the chopper won't make it. Someone's planning something bad. I swear. Her Nigerian accent was thick with panic, her voice trembling but sure. I ain't making this up. Please, stay here. Silas's gut twisted, a cold knot tightening. Her was Mariah, his wife of 10 years, the woman who'd stood by him when he was just a hustler with big talk. Mariah, with her runway looks and Gucci obsession, who'd shared cheap rum and dreams in their broke days. The idea of her scheming against him was nuts. But Dupe's face, those eyes, raw and terrified, shook his certainty like a cheap piñata. "You saying my wife wants me dead," he barked, looming over her, his 6-foot frame casting a shadow. "That's some serious bullshit, kid. You got proof, or you just spinning tales Dupe didn't back down." Though her knees wobbled. "No proof, sir. Just what I heard. She was in the study, whispering, but I was cleaning nearby. Said your name, then crash. I couldn't sleep, thinking you'd—" Her voice cracked, and she dropped to her knees, hands clasped tight. "I'm nobody. Just the maid. But if you get on that thing, you ain't coming back. I'm begging you." The pilot honked. A sharp blast, and Silas's phone buzzed again. Toby's text. "Where you at, investors losing it?" The deal was a game changer, a resort to seal his legacy. But Dupe's fear was a physical thing, clawing at him. He'd grown up on instincts, dodging trouble in Little Havana's back streets. His mom's voice echoed, "Listen to the quiet ones." "Mijo." Dupé was quiet until now. Heels clicked like gunfire behind him. "What's this damn circus?" Mariah's voice, smooth but icy, cut through the tension. She glided onto the rooftop, her silk dress catching the sunset's fire, dark hair spilling like ink. At 38, she was a stunner, every inch the trophy wife, but her green eyes sliced toward Dupe, still kneeling. "Silas, why's the maid acting like she's in a soap opera?" Silas turned, his jaw locked. "She says I shouldn't fly. Heard you on the phone, planning some accident." Mariah's laugh was a shard of glass. "Oh, please. She's off her rocker. You buying this crap?" She crossed her arms, her diamond bracelet flashing. "What's she gonna do next? Read your tarot, fire her ass before she tanks our reputation?" Dupe's shoulders shook, but she stayed down, whispering, "I'm sorry. Ma'am, had to speak." Mariah rolled her eyes, stepping closer to Silas, her perfume floral, pricey swirling around him. "You've got a meeting. Silas, millions riding on it. You really letting some nobody screw that up? She's probably drunk or something." Silas's gaze flicked between them, Mariah's cool smirk, Dupe's trembling frame. Mariah was too calm, her smile a mask he'd seen at galas, not in their old days of love. Dupe, though she was risking everything, her job, her life in the States, for him. His gut screamed to listen, even if his head called it crazy. "Kill it," Silas said, his voice hard, nodding at the pilot. The guy scowled but flipped a switch, the chopper's blade slowing to a whine. He faced Dupe, still on her knees. "Get up, inside, now." Mariah's jaw dropped. "You're shitting me. You're ditching the deal for her inside." Silas snapped, his eyes boring into hers. A flicker crossed Mariah's face. Anger. Maybe fear before she spun, her heels stabbing the concrete as she stormed off. Dupe rose, wiping her cheeks, her voice a murmur. "Thank you, sir." Silas didn't reply, just motioned her to follow, his pulse hammering. Had he just dodged a bullet or shot himself in the foot? The mansion's living room was a palace of excess marble floors, windows framing the ocean, a chandelier dripping wealth. It smelled of lavender and leather, but the air was thick, like the walls held secrets. Silas sank onto a white leather couch, his temples throbbing. Mariah stood by the bar, pouring a gin and tonic, her movements sharp, ice clinking like a countdown. Dupe lingered near the doorway, clutching a cleaning rag, her sneakers scuffing the floor. "Talk," Silas said, his voice rough. "What did you hear?" "Dupe. Every word." Dupe's eyes darted to Mariah, who didn't look up. "Last night, sir. Round 11, I was dusting the study, like Mrs. Admo wanted. She came in, on her phone, talking quiet. I was behind the bookshelf, out of sight. Heard her say, 'Silas can't make it to Key West. The chopper won't make it.' Then, 'It's handled.' She sounded cold, sir. Not joking. I slipped out, but it stuck with me. My dad," her voice broke, eyes dropping. "He died in a wreck. Truck smashed his car. I know danger when I hear it." Silas leaned forward, elbows on knees, his mind a storm. "You're sure it was Mariah? Not some other voice?" "Her, sir," Dupe said. "Steady now." "I know her voice. I ain't lying. I need this job. My brother's in school in Lagos, living off what I send. But I couldn't let you go." Mariah slammed her glass down, gin splashing. "This is insane. Silas, she's spinning lies for a paycheck. I was talking to my sister about your stupid meeting. She misheard. Or she's hustling you." Silas studied Mariah, her perfect poise, the grip on her glass. He'd loved her when they shared Cuban sandwiches on the beach, dreaming big. Now, she was a stranger, her eyes dodging his. His phone buzzed a news alert. Helicopter crash off Key West. No survivors. His breath hitched. The phone slipping to the rug. The room spun. The chandelier's glow fracturing like stars. He looked at Dupe, her rag twisted tight. "Jesus," he muttered, scrubbing his face. "It went down. Just like you said." Mariah's glass froze midair, her eyes widening before she masked it. "That's horrible, but it doesn't prove anything. Shit happens. Silas. Shit happens." Silas growled, standing. Dupe nailed it. "Mariah, you callin' that luck?" She shrugged, her smile brittle. "Maybe she's psychic, or playing you. I'm done with this." She grabbed her purse and headed upstairs, leaving a wake of perfume and doubt. Silas sank back, his head pounding. If he'd boarded that chopper, he'd be dead, floating in the Atlantic. He looked at Dupe, still standing, waiting for judgment. "Why risk it all for me?" he asked, voice softer. "Your job. Your brother's school." Dupe's eyes met his, tears brimming but fierce. "My dad had no one to warn him. I couldn't let you die, sir, even if it cost me." Silas had no words. He'd built a fortune on distrust, but this girl, a stranger, had saved him. Or had she? Doubt lingered. A dark whisper. Was Mariah guilty Toby too? He stood, walking to the window. Miami's lights a promise he didn't trust. Behind him, Dupe hummed a Nigerian tune, low and mournful, a prayer in a house of lies. Silas closed his eyes, the day's weight crushing him, wondering if he'd ever find the truth. You ever had someone call it just in time to save your skin? Silas Admo's world's on fire, and Dupes just lit the match. Drop a comment. What's your gut ever told you? Smash that subscribe button. This Miami ride's just getting started. The Miami night was a sticky beast, the kind that wrapped you in a humid chokehold and wouldn't let go. Inside the Coconut Grove mansion, Silas Admo slumped in a leather armchair in his study, the glow of a single desk lamp carving shadows across his face. The room was a fortress of wealth bookshelves lined with leather-bound tomes, a mahogany desk cluttered with contracts, the faint scent of cigar smoke lingering from better days. But tonight, it felt like a prison. His phone sat silent on the desk, no longer buzzing with Toby's texts or investor complaints. But the quiet was worse. It gave him too much space to think about the helicopter crash he'd narrowly escaped, about Dupe's warning, about Mariah's cold laugh when he'd confronted her. The news alert from last night, no survivors, played on a loop in his head, each word a hammer against his trust. Silas rubbed his jaw, the stubble sharp under his fingers, and stared at a framed photo on the desk, him and Mariah, 10 years ago, grinning on a South Beach pier, her hair wild in the wind. He'd loved her then, back when they were hustling, sharing dreams over greasy empanadas. Now, she was a ghost in their own home, always slipping out, her eyes dodging his. Dupe's words clawed at him. I heard her, Mrs. Admo, saying the chopper wouldn't make it. Was it possible? Could Mariah, his wife, want him gone, and Toby, his partner, since their Little Havana days? The guy who'd had his back through every deal, was he in on it too? He stood, pacing the study, the marble floor cold under his bare feet. The mansion was too damn big, too quiet, its excess mocking him. He needed to move, to do something, anything to shake the doubt gnawing his gut. He grabbed his phone and dialed Raul, the private investigator he'd used once to nail a crooked contractor. Raul's voice crackled through, rough as gravel. Silas, it's midnight. This better be good. It ain't, Silas said, his voice low. I need you to tail someone. My wife, Mariah, where she goes, who she's with, what she says, and keep an eye on Toby Oni, my partner. Something's off. Raul, don't fuck it up. Raul chuckled, a dry sound. Trouble in paradise. Huh. Give me a week. You'll wish you didn't ask. He hung up, leaving Silas staring at the phone, his pulse heavy. He headed to the kitchen. The house dark except for a faint glow under the door. Dupe was there, scrubbing the stove, the air sharp with bleach and the faint warmth of leftover coffee. She looked up, her brown eyes wary, her faded t-shirt damp with sweat. At 22, she was a wisp, but her presence filled the room, steady despite the bags under her eyes. Dupe, Silas said, leaning against the counter, his voice softer than he meant. You shouldn't be up. Go sleep. She shook her head, wiping her hands on a rag. Can't, sir. Too much to do, and I don't like leaving you alone right now. Silas frowned, crossing his arms. Why's that? You think I'm in danger? Dupe's gaze dropped, her fingers twisting the rag. I don't know, sir. Just a feeling. After what I heard Mrs. Admo on the phone, it don't sit right. Something's brewing in this house. He studied her, the way her shoulders tensed, her voice low but sure. She wasn't fishing for attention. She was scared, same as him. Tell me again, he he said, pulling out a stool. What did Mariah say? Word for word, Dupe hesitated, glancing at the hallway, then sat across from him, her hands folded tight. It was late. Sir. Round 11, I was cleaning the study, dusting shelves. Mrs. Admo came in. Didn't see me. She was on her phone, whispering, said, Silas can't make it to Key West. The chopper won't make it. Then, it's handled. Her voice was hard. Sir. Like she meant it. I slipped out. But it stuck with me. My dad. She paused, her eyes glistening. He died in a crash. Truck hit him. I know what bad sounds like. Silas's throat tightened, her pain hitting him like a wave. I'm sorry about your dad. Dupe. But why risk your job, your brother's school money? You could have stayed quiet. She met his eyes, fierce despite the tears. I saw you go into that chopper, sir, and it was like seeing my dad all over again. I couldn't let it happen. Even if you fire me. I ain't firing you, Silas said, his voice rough. You're the only one giving me the truth. He leaned back, scrubbing his face. But I need more. You see Mariah acting strange, leaving at odd hours, talking to anyone new. Dupe nodded slowly. She's out late, sir. Comes back past midnight, sometimes laughing on her phone. Like she's happy. Ain't like that with you. And I found something. She reached into her pocket, pulling out a crumpled receipt. Hialeah Motel. Cash payment. Dated 2 nights ago. Silas's blood ran cold, the paper crackling in his hand. Where'd you get this? Her trash, sir. Dupe said, voice low. I was emptying bins. Didn't mean to snoop, but it stood out. He stared at the receipt, his mind racing. Mariah. At a seedy motel. With who Toby? Someone else. Thanks. Dupe, he said, pocketing it. Keep this quiet. She nodded, returning to her scrubbing, but her hands shook. Silas left the kitchen, his chest tight. Chest. He needed to see Mariah, to look in her eyes and know if she was lying. But she wasn't home again. Her Mercedes was gone. The garage empty, its concrete floor gleaming under fluorescent lights. He checked her closet, finding nothing but rows of designer dresses and shoes, the air heavy with her perfume. Then, in a drawer, he saw it, a gold necklace, heart-shaped pendant, delicate and wrong. Not his gift, not her taste. His heart pounded, the metal cold in his palm. He hurled it against the wall, the clatter echoing like a gunshot. Morning came. The Miami sun brutal through the mansion's windows. Silas sat at the kitchen island, coffee untouched. The receipt and necklace on the counter like evidence in a trial. Dupe was gone, probably cleaning upstairs, her absence a quiet ache. Mariah swept in, sunglasses perched on her head, a designer bag swinging. Morning, she chirped, her tone light, like last night's fight was a dream. She grabbed a to-go cup, ignoring Silas's stare. Where were you last night? He asked, his voice low, dangerous. Mariah paused, her smile tight. Spa. Like I said. Why? You keeping tabs now? Silas slid the receipt across the counter. Hialeah Motel. Mariah. Cash. Care to explain? Her eyes flicked to the paper, then back to him, cool as ice. You're digging through my trash. Real classy. Silas. It's from a friend's bachelorette party. Chill out. She grabbed the cup and turned to leave, but Silas stood, blocking her path. Don't lie to me, he growled. You're sneaking around, and I want to know with who. Mariah's laugh was sharp, cutting. You're paranoid. Silas, that maid's poisoning you with her bullshit. Fire her, or I'm done with this. She pushed past him, the door slamming behind her, the sound ringing in his ears. Silas sank back, his head throbbing. He didn't trust her, not anymore. He needed more than a receipt, more than Dupe's word. He drove to his office, a glass tower in downtown Miami, the skyline a glitter of ambition. Luz, his Puerto Rican secretary, was at her desk, her hair in a messy bun, her eyes nervous. At 30, she was sharp but fragile, always worried about her kid's future. Luz, Silas said, leaning on her desk. You see Toby messing with the hotel deal budget changes. Anything weird? Luz's fingers froze on her keyboard, her voice low. Maybe. He edited the Miami Beach budget last week. Late, after hours. Said it was a fix. Told me to stay quiet. I didn't push. Sir, my kids. Silas nodded, his jaw tight. Keep watching. Anything off. You tell me. Only me. She nodded, her hands shaking. Silas walked to his office, the city sprawling below. All shine and secrets. He opened his laptop, pulling up the hotel contract. The numbers didn't add construction costs inflated. Payments to unknown vendors. Toby's fingerprints were all over it. His phone buzzed a text from Toby dinner tonight. Ocean Drive, Caja Caliente, 8, Talk Biz. Silas stared, his gut screaming trap, but he needed to see Toby's face, catch him slipping. He texted back, I'm in. Then he leaned back, the receipt and necklace heavy in his pocket, the city's pulse a challenge. Mariah was hiding something, Toby too, and Silas was done playing the fool. He'd find the truth, no matter how much it hurt. The Miami morning was a furnace, the sun scorching the glass facade of Admo Properties' downtown tower, turning Silas Admo's office into a sweatbox. At 45, Silas was a man carved from ambition, his Cuban roots buried under a tailored suit and a real estate empire that owned half the city's skyline. But today, he stood by his desk, staring at the shimmer of Biscayne Bay, his mind a million miles from the cranes and condos outside. The gold necklace he'd found in Mariah's car, a heart pendant, not his gift, sat heavy in his pocket. A silent scream of betrayal. 2 days ago, Dupe, his maid, had stopped him from boarding a helicopter that crashed, killing everyone aboard. Her warning, Mrs. Admo, said it won't make it had saved his life, but it cracked open a fault line in his world. Mariah, his wife, and Toby, his partner since their Little Havana hustle, were hiding something. The question was how deep the rot went. Silas's office was a monument to his grind-polished wood, framed awards, a photo of him and Toby grinning at their first big deal. But now, it felt like a crime scene, every shadow hiding a lie. The receipt from a Hialeah motel, found by Dupe in Mariah's trash, lay on his desk beside the necklace, both taunting him He'd hired Raul, a private investigator, to tail Mariah. But Raul's first report spa trips, lunches was a bust. Still, Silas's gut, honed on the streets, told him to keep digging. He needed proof, not just whispers. A knock snapped him out of it. Luz, his secretary, stood in the doorway, her dark eyes flickering with nerves. 30, Puerto Rican, and sharp as a blade. Luz was loyal, but skittish. Always one bill away from panic for her kids. "Mr. Admo," she said, her voice low, clutching a USB drive like it was a live grenade. "You got a sec? It's important." "Always," Silas said, waving her in, his pulse ticking up. "What you got?" "Luz." She shut the door, her hands trembling as she crossed to his desk. "It's about Mr. Toby. You asked about the hotel deal, and I found something." She plugged the USB into his laptop, her fingers fumbling. "I could lose my job for this, but you need to see it." Silas leaned forward, the screen flickering to life. A folder opened, revealing emails from Toby's company account to an address Silas didn't know. Cayman Deals at Proton, me mail to Cayman Deals at Proton, me. The subjects were bland project notes, cost updates, but the contents hit like a sledgehammer. Toby had been skimming cash from Admo properties for over a year, funneling millions into Cayman Island accounts through fake invoices and shell companies. One email, dated 3 weeks back, mentioned the Key West deal if S hesitates. Plan B's in play, choppers set. Another, to someone named Rico, read, "Keep it tight, no traces." Silas's blood turned to ice. "Chopper," he muttered, the word tying back to Dupe's warning, to the crash that should have killed him. Rico, Silas knew him, a bodyguard he'd canned for stealing 2 years ago. The emails were a map of betrayal. Toby's greed laid bare. "How'd you get this?" "Luz," he asked, his voice tight. Luz's eyes darted to the door. "Toby left his laptop open after a meeting last week. I copied the drive. He's been weird, search engine budgets, hiding files. I got kids. Mr. Admo. If the company tanks, we're done. I had to." Silas nodded, ejecting the USB, its weight heavy in his hand. "You did right. This stays between us. Luz. No one else." "Yes, sir," she whispered, her hands shaking as she backed out. Silas sank into his chair, the emails burning into his brain. Toby, his brother from the block, who'd split his last beer with him when they were broke, was a snake. And Rico. That meant danger, not just dollars. But where did Mariah fit? The necklace? The motel receipt? Were they tied to Toby? Or something else? He needed to see Toby, to look him in the eye and catch the lie. He'd agreed to dinner at Caja Caliente, a South Beach joint, at 8. It was a risk. But Silas was done running from the truth. He drove home to clear his head, the Miami traffic a snarl of horns and heat, the radio's salsa beat doing nothing for his nerves. The mansion was quiet. Mariah's car still gone, her absence a loud accusation. Dupe was in the foyer, sweeping, the air sharp with lemon polish. She looked up, her brown eyes searching his face, sensing the storm inside him. "You all right, sir?" she asked, leaning on the broom, her Nigerian accent soft but steady. Silas shook his head, leaning against the wall. Not even close. Dupe found something on Toby. He's been stealing. Maybe worse. You ever see him around here when I'm not home? Dupe's grip tightened on the broom, her voice low. Once, sir, last week. He came by, said he needed papers. Mrs. Admo let him in. They talked in the study. Door closed. I heard laughing, then nothing. Didn't feel right. Silas's stomach churned. Anything else? That guy you saw, big scar on his neck. She nodded, her eyes flickering with fear. Saw him again. Sir. Yesterday. Near the gate. Just stood there. Watching. Didn't come closer. But he's trouble. That's Rico, Silas said, his voice grim. Used to work for me. Bad blood. If you see him again, you tell me. Dupe. Don't wait. Yes, sir, she said, resuming her sweeping, but her hands trembled. Silas headed upstairs, the necklace still in his pocket, its weight a reminder of Mariah's secrets. He checked her phone, left on the nightstand a rare slip. No calls logged, but a text from an unknown number. Meet me tonight. Usual spot. His blood boiled, but he didn't have time to chase it. Toby was the priority. Caja Caliente was a South Beach fever dream, neon lights, Cuban flags, the air thick with cigar smoke and mojito fumes. Silas arrived early, sliding into a corner booth, the leather creaking under him. The place thrummed with life tourists snapping selfies, locals shouting over reggaeton, the sizzle of pork and plantains hitting his nose. He ordered a rum neat, the burn steadying his nerves as he waited, the USB tucked in his jacket like a loaded gun. Toby rolled in at 8, his white linen shirt open to show a gold chain, his grin slick as oil. My man, he said, dropping into the booth, clapping Silas's shoulder. Thought you'd bailed on me. Investors are crawling up my ass about Key West. Silas forced a smile, sipping his rum, his eyes locked on Toby's. Yeah, about that deal. You're pushing it hard. Toby, why the hurry? Toby waved for a beer, leaning back, casual as hell. Hurry, nah. It's a slam dunk. Beachfront gold. Investors ready to pour cash. We sign. We're talking private jets. The whole deal. His fingers drummed the table, a nervous tick Silas hadn't clocked before. Sounds nice, Silas said, his voice too even. But I've been checking the books. Numbers ain't right. Construction costs jacked up. Payments to vendors I never heard of. You know anything about that? Toby's grin stiffened, his beer pausing midair. Numbers. Shit. Silas. You know I'm the details guy. Probably a glitch. I'll have Luz sort it. Luz ain't the issue, Silas said, leaning forward, his voice ablade. I got emails. Toby. Your name. Cayman accounts. Millions gone. You want to explain, or should I keep digging the restaurant's noise laughter? Clinking glasses faded to a hum. Toby's smile dropped, his hand gripping the bottle. Emails. You're chasing shadows. Man, someone's hacking my shit, trying to screw us. You think I'd stab you in the back? After all we've been through? Silas's eyes didn't waver. I think you're hiding something, like that chopper I was supposed to be on. You wrote about it. Toby. Chopper's set. What the hell were you planning? Toby's face paled, his eyes flashing with something guilt. Fear, before he masked it with a laugh. Too loud. Chopper. You're losing it. Silas. That crash was a fluke. You letting that maid fuck with your head, she's got you seeing ghosts. Silas slammed his glass down, rum splashing, heads turning. Don't lie to me. Toby. I saw the email. Make it clean. You and Rico. Plotting to take me out. Why Toby stood, his chair scraping, his voice a hiss. You're way off. Silas, I'm your brother. Been with you since the streets. You want to burn that for some fake emails. Your call, but you're fucking up. He tossed a 20 on the table and stormed out. The door banging shut. Silas sat, his heart hammering, the rum sour in his throat. The restaurant roared back shouts. Music. The pulse of Guantanamera, but all he heard was Toby's voice. The crack when he mentioned the chopper. He'd known. Silas's hands shook, the USB a weight in his jacket. Toby wasn't just stealing, he was dangerous. And Rico's shadow loomed larger. Mariah's role was still a question. But the necklace, the receipt, the text, they were pieces of a puzzle he had to solve. He drove home, Miami's neon streets a blur, his mind racing. The mansion was dark, Mariah still gone. Dupe's broom leaning against the foyer wall, a sign she'd been there. Silas stood in the study, the USB on his desk, the photo of him and Toby mocking him. He'd trusted too long, loved too blind. Now, the truth was the fire in his chest, and he'd burn it all down to find it. The Miami dawn broke like a fever. Gray clouds choking the horizon, the air thick with the threat of rain. Silas Admo stood in the study of his Coconut Grove mansion. The USB drive from Luz, a digital bomb exposing Toby's theft, and the chilling chopper plan clutched in his hand. At 45, Silas was a titan, his real estate empire a monument to his Little Havana grit. But now he felt like a man on a sinking ship. The emails he'd found last night confirmed Toby, his best friend since their street days, was a traitor, siphoning millions and plotting his death. Mariah, his wife, was tangled in it, her late-night calls, the Hialeah motel receipt, the gold necklace in her car screaming secrets. The confrontation at Caja Caliente had sealed it. Toby's guilt flickered in his eyes when Silas mentioned the chopper. His denial, too sharp, too fast. Silas hadn't slept, his eyes red, his coffee cold on the desk. The mansion was a tomb, its marble and glass mocking his unraveling life. Mariah hadn't come home, her absence a blade in his gut. Dupé, the maid who'd saved him from the crash, had seen Rico, his ex-bodyguard, now Toby's muscle lurking near the gate. The USB, the necklace, Rico's shadow. It was all connected. And Silas was done waiting for answers. He needed to move, to strike before Toby did. His phone buzzed. A text from Raul, the private investigator. Got dirt on Mariah. Hialeah Diner. 7 a.m. Bring cash. Silas grabbed his keys, the USB and necklace in his jacket, and headed out, the study's silence trailing him like a ghost. As he passed the kitchen, Dupe was scrubbing pots, her face drawn, her hands steady despite the fear in her eyes. "Dupe," he said, pausing. "Rico show up again. You call me. Don't hesitate." She nodded, her voice low. "Yes, sir. You watch yourself too. This house ain't safe." Silas didn't reply, the weight of her words sinking in. He slid into his Range Rover, the garage's oil and leather smell grounding him, and sped toward Hialeah. The streets were gritty, lined with bodegas and murals, vendors slinging café con leche under a bruised sky. The diner was a dive, its tables sticky, the air heavy with grease and smoke. Raul sat in a corner booth, his mustache twitching, a black coffee steaming in front of him. Silas slid in, tossing a roll of bills on the table. "Talk," Silas said, his voice a low growl, eyes scanning for trouble. Raul pocketed the cash, sliding over a manila envelope. "Mariah's playing dirty. Met Toby 3 times this week motels, back alleys, always after dark. Got pics." He tapped the envelope. "She's moving money too, big chunks to an account linked to Rico. Looks like she's paying for muscle, maybe more." Silas tore open the envelope, his jaw tightening. Grainy photos spilled out Mariah and Toby in a car, heads close, Mariah handing Rico an envelope outside a Hialeah warehouse. His heart pounded, the betrayal cutting deeper than he'd braced for. "Rico," he muttered. "That bastard's working for them." Raul leaned in, voice a rasp. "It gets worse. Toby's stirring shit. Rumors your skimming company funds hit the street. Stocks down 10%. Investors panicking. He's framing you. Silas, setting you up to crash." Silas's fists clenched, the photos crumpling. He'd poured his soul into Admo Properties, and Toby was burning it down. "I need something solid," he said, voice tight. "Enough to bury him. Working on it," Raul said, lighting a cigarette despite the no smoking sign. "But Rico's got a crew, and they're watching. Keep your head down." Silas drove back. The city a haze of palm trees and horns. Raul's words looping, setting you up to crash. His phone lit up with news alerts. Admo stock plummeting, board members calling for his head. A voicemail from the chairman was ice cold. "We're meeting tomorrow. Silas, be ready to step down. Be ready to." He slammed the dashboard, the horn blaring, earning a middle finger from a passing driver. At the mansion, Mariah's car was still gone, the garage empty. Silas found Dupe in the laundry room, folding sheets, the air thick with detergent. "Dupe," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "Mariah been back no, sir," she said, her hands pausing. "Left early. Didn't say where. But," she hesitated, pulling a crumpled note from her pocket. "Found this in her bathroom trash. Didn't read it. But it's got your name." Silas took the note, his fingers unsteady. Scrawled in Mariah's handwriting, "Silas too close." "Speed it up." His blood ran cold, the words a confirmation of everything he feared. "Thanks." "Dupe," he said, voice rough. "You okay? You're shaking." "I'm fine," she said. "Too quick." her eyes darting to the window. Just feel like someone's watching. Silas's gut twisted. Rico. He needed to act. But before he could, his phone buzzed a blocked number. He answered, expecting Raul. Admo, a gravelly voice said. Rico. No mistaking it. You're a tough bastard to kill. Silas's heart stopped. What the hell you want? You know? Rico said. A chuckle like broken glass. Sign the hotel deal, or your maid's done. Check your email. The line went dead. Silas's hands shook as he opened his laptop, parked in the garage for privacy. An email from an anonymous address waited, a video attached. He clicked play, and his breath caught. Dupe was tied to a chair in a grimy room, her face bruised, her t-shirt ripped. She glared at the camera, defiant but scared. Rico's voice growled off screen. 24 hours. Admo. Sign, or she's shark bait. Silas slammed the laptop shut, rage and guilt choking him. Dupe brave. Quiet. Dupe was in this mess because of him. He called Raul, his voice a snarl. Rico's got Dupe. Find her. Now. Where'd he call from? Raul asked. Calm, but urgent. No clue, but it's a warehouse. Sent a video. I'm not losing her. Raul, get me a location. On it, Raul said. Get back up. Rico's got muscle. Silas hung up, dialing Carlos, his driver and oldest friend from Little Havana. Carlos. Meet me at the house. Bring your gun. Shit's real. An hour later, they were tearing toward Hialeah. Raul's text pinpointing a warehouse on 7th Avenue. An old import lot. Carlos. Burly, with a faded Virgin Mary tattoo, gripped the wheel, his Glock under his jacket. Rico's a dog. Silas, he said, voice low. Ran with killers back in the day. If he's got Dupe, he ain't playing. I know, Silas said, staring at the rain-slicked streets. Toby's pulling the strings. Maybe Mariah too. I fucked up. Carlos, trusting him. Carlos glanced over, eyes soft. We all do. Hermano. Let's get her back. The warehouse was a rust-eaten husk, windows boarded, the air sour with oil and rot. Rain fell in sheets, soaking Silas and Carlos as they slipped through a side door. Carlos's Glock gleaming under a flickering bulb. The place was a labyrinth of crates and rusted machines, water dripping like a pulse. Silas's phone buzzed another email from Rico, Times ticking. He ignored it, his eyes cutting through the dark. A muffled cry echoed, and Silas's heart lurched. He signaled Carlos, creeping toward a lit room. Inside, Dupe was bound to a chair, her face swollen, blood trickling from her lip. Rico loomed over her, his scarred neck glistening, a switchblade in hand. Two goons stood by, their eyes hard. Look who showed, Rico said, grinning, his voice a rasp. Big shot, Admo. You're done, man. Ain't nobody saving you. Silas stepped forward, rain dripping from his jacket, fists balled. Let her go. Rico. This is between us. Rico laughed, twirling the blade. You think you're hot shit? Sign the deal, or she's dead, and you're next. Dupe's eyes locked on Silas, her voice hoarse but fierce. Don't. Mr. Admo, they'll kill you anyway. I ain't worth it. Shut it, Rico snapped, smacking her. Dupe's head jerked, and Silas's vision went red. Touch her again, he growled, and I'll rip your fucking throat out. Rico smirked, but Carlos moved first, tackling a goon. The second charged Silas, and the room exploded, fists flying, crates splintering, the knife skittering across the floor. Silas took a hit to the jaw, pain flaring, but he slammed the goon into a wall, his rage a wildfire. Carlos pinned his man, but Rico grabbed Dupe, the blade at her neck. Back off. Rico roared, eyes wild, or she's gone. Silas froze, blood dripping, chest heaving. Carlos had his goon down, but Rico was a loose cannon. Dupe's gaze held Silas's, fearless. You're worth it, she whispered, voice steady. Don't quit. Silas's mind raced. Then Dupe acted, grabbing a glass shard from the floor, slashing Rico's arm. He screamed, dropping the knife, and Silas charged, tackling him. They hit the ground hard, fists pounding, until Silas pinned him, knee on his chest. You're done. Silas spat, slamming Rico's head down. Carlos zip-tied the goons, his face bloodied but grinning. Silas freed Dupe, her wrists raw, her breath ragged. You good? He asked, voice raw, steadying her. She nodded, wincing. Thanks, sir. You didn't have to. Yeah, I did, Silas said, eyes dark. This is on me. They staggered out, rain soaking them, Carlos supporting Dupé. Sirens wailed Raul's tip to the cops. But as they reached the car, Silas's phone lit up. Admo Properties Board removes CEO Silas Admo amid fraud claims. His legs buckled, the phone splashing into a puddle. His company, his life was gone. Toby had won. Silas slid into the driver's seat, rain dripping, his face a mask of pain. Dupe touched his arm, voice soft. You're still standin'. Mr. Admo. That's enough for now. He didn't answer, hands locked on the wheel, Miami's lights blurring. He'd saved Dupe, but lost everything else. The fight wasn't over, but he was drowning. And Dupe's words, "You're worth it," were the only thing keeping him afloat. The Miami rain fell in relentless sheets, turning the streets into a mirror of blurred neon and despair. Silas Admo sat in his Range Rover, parked outside the Hialeah warehouse where he'd just pulled Dupe from Rico's blade. His knuckles were raw, blood crusted on his lip, and his soaked shirt clung to his bruised ribs. Dupe, beside him, leaned against the window, her wrists chafed from ropes, her face swollen but steady. Carlos, in the back, nursed a cut brow, his Glock stashed, his breath heavy. The wail of police sirens faded as they hauled Rico and his goons away. But Silas's world was in free fall. His phone, retrieved from a puddle, glowed with the news that had shattered him. Admo Properties Board removes CEO Silas Admo. Amid fraud allegations, his empire, built from the sweat of Little Havana, was gone. stolen by Toby's lies and Mariah's betrayal. The USB drive in his pocket, proof of Toby's theft and the chopper plot, felt like a cruel joke now. Too late to save his name. Silas gripped the wheel, his voice a broken whisper. It's over. Dupe. They took it all. Dupe turned, her brown eyes fierce despite the bruises. They didn't take you. Mr. Admo, you're still breathing. That's something. He shook his head, her words a faint spark in the dark. You got hurt 'cause of me. I trusted the wrong people, and now you're paying for it. I'm a damn idiot. You're alive, Dupe said, her Nigerian accent soft but unyielding. Idiots don't fight like you did in there. You saved me. Now save what's left. Silas didn't answer, starting the car, the wipers slashing through the rain. He dropped Dupe at the mansion, ordering her to rest, and Carlos at his place, promising to cover his hospital bill. Alone. He drove to Jackson Memorial Hospital, the ER a blur of shouting nurses and rattling gurneys, the air sharp with antiseptic. His jaw was bruised, not broken, but the pain was nothing compared to the hole in his chest, sitting under the fluorescent buzz. He felt like a kid again, back in Little Havana, scrapping for survival. He'd climbed so high, only to crash back to nothing. His phone buzzed a text from Carlos. Found a hard drive in Rico's car. Might be something. Diner. Now. Silas's pulse kicked up. He left the hospital, the rain easing to a drizzle, and met Carlos at a greasy spoon off Flagler Street. The diner smelled of burnt coffee and bacon, its jukebox humming an old Santana riff. Carlos, bandaged but alert, slid a small drive across the table. Under the dash, he said, voice low. Rico's careless. Could be gold. Silas plugged it into his laptop, hands steady despite the tremor in his gut. A video file popped up, time-stamped last week. He hit play, and his breath stopped. It was Mariah. In a cheap motel room, her hair pulled back, hands fidgeting. Toby sat across, a cigarette burning, his gold chain catching the dim light. The camera, hidden maybe Rico's insurance, caught it all. We gotta move, Toby said, smoke curling. Silas is poking. If he don't sign the deal, we're fucked. Mariah's voice shook, eyes darting. I didn't want murder. Toby, the chopper was your call. I just needed to clear my debts. Silas's heart seized. Murder. The word was a punch. Mariah kept going, voice cracking. I sold my shares to pay off gambling slots. Loan sharks. Rico's crew was gonna bury me. You said we'd frame Silas, make it look like he's the crook. Toby's laugh was ice. We will. He's out. We take Admo. You pay Rico. I run the cash. Easy. The video cut off. The screen dark. Silas sat. The diner's clatter spoons on plates. A waitress yelling gone. Mariah wasn't just cheating. She was a puppet, scared and desperate, but complicit. The necklace, the motel, her coldness, it all fit. She'd chosen Toby's plan over him, and it burned worse than any betrayal. Christ, Carlos said, shaking his head. She's deep in it, Silas. What's the move? Silas closed the laptop, his voice a snarl. I'm ending this. They don't get to walk. He drove to the mansion, the city stirring under a gray dawn. Dupe was in the kitchen, bandaging her wrist, a pot of tea brewing, its herbal scent a faint comfort. She looked up, reading his face. "You got more trouble, sir." He nodded, setting the laptop down. "Video. Mariah and Toby, planning to frame me. She was scared debts. Rico, but she went along. Wanted me dead." Dupe's eyes softened. Not pity, but knowing. Fear makes folks do evil. "My uncle back in Lagos. He sold our farm for a scam. Didn't mean to hurt us, but he did. Don't let her pain stop you. Sir, you think I should let her off?" Silas asked, voice raw. "After everything?" "No," Dupe said, firm. "You hold him accountable, but don't let hate eat you. Hate. You're better than that." Her words hit like a lifeline, pulling him from the edge. He needed to fight, not for revenge, but for truth. He called Luce, her voice groggy at 6 a.m. "Book a press conference," he said. "Eden Rock. Noon. Live stream it. We're going all in." Press Luce stammered. "The board'll freak, Mr. Admo." "You sure dead sure," Silas said. "Pull every file on Toby. We're dropping the hammer. By noon." The Eden Rocks ballroom was a circus reporters crammed shoulder to shoulder, cameras flashing, influencers waving phones. The room was a gilded trap, chandeliers glinting, the ocean of blue teas through huge windows. Silas stood at the podium, suit sharp but face haggard, bruises barely hidden. Luce hovered backstage, clutching her tablet, eyes wide. Dupe sat in the back, her bandaged wrist under a sleeve, her presence a quiet anchor. Silas felt the weight of every eye, but he was done hiding. He tapped the mic, the squeal cutting the buzz. "Miami," he said, voice raw but steady. "I fucked up. Trusted snakes. My partner, Toby, stole millions from Admo Properties, hid it in Cayman accounts, and framed me for it. He tanked our stock, turned the board against me. Worse, he tried to kill me." The crowd gasped, shutters clicking like gunfire. Silas held up the USB, his hand firm. "I got proof emails, transfers, a video. Toby and my wife, Mariah, planned it. They rigged a chopper to crash. The one I was meant to be on. I'm here 'cause someone saw the truth." He glanced at Dupe, her eyes shining. "I'm here 'cause I listened." He played the video. Mariah's voice shaky, guilty filling the room. Toby's cold laugh, damning them both. The crowd erupted shouts, questions, phones recording. Silas silenced them with a raised hand. "I ain't perfect. Missed the signs. Let 'em play me. But I'm fighting back. And I need you. Admo's Miami's. Not just mine. Stand with me." He stepped back, chest tight, the room a blur. Luce rushed him, tears streaming. "You nailed it, Mr. Admo. They're with you." Silas didn't feel it, his soul raw, exposed. As the crowd thinned, he saw her Mariah, slipping in late, her face pale, mascara running. She approached, heels clicking, voice trembling. "Silas, I was trapped. Toby said Rico'd kill me if I didn't pay. I didn't want you dead. I swear." Silas stared. The woman he'd loved, now a shadow. You broke us. Mariah, he said, voice low. Final. You chose him. Live with that. Her eyes welled, but she didn't fight. I'm sorry, she whispered, turning into the rain, her silhouette fading. Silas watched, a weight lifting but leaving an ache not for her, but for the life he'd lost. He drove to Little Havana, craving roots, the streets alive with kids playing, abuelas chatting, the scent of cigars and fritas. His phone buzzed. Save Admo trending. Texts from strangers. We're with you, hermano. A bar owner in Hialeah, you're ours. Admo, keep it real. Silas's throat closed, his eyes burning. Miami, his city, was rising for him. A community he'd forgotten in his chase for gold. He parked on Calle Ocho, stepping into the dusk, a mural of a Cuban flag glowing. Dupe's words echoed, "You're better than that." He wasn't done, not by a long shot. The board, Toby, the lies they'd face him now, with Miami at his back. The Miami sunset was a quiet blaze, painting Little Havana's rooftops in shades of mango and coral, the kind of light that made you believe in second chances. Calle Ocho thrummed with life salsa rhythms spilling from open doorways, kids weaving through the crowd with shaved ice, the air rich with roasting pork and sweet plantains. Silas Admo stood on a makeshift stage in the heart of it, a microphone gripped in his calloused hand, sweat beading under his linen guayabera. At 47, he was no longer the untouchable king of Admo properties, but he was something better, a man rebuilt from the ashes. 2 years ago, his world had burned a helicopter crash he'd dodged, thanks to Dupe's warning, Toby's betrayal, stealing millions, Mariah's lies, trading their marriage for survival. The press conference at Eden Rock had turned the tide, Miami rallying behind him, but the scars remained. Now, he was here, opening the Admo Community Center, a brick-and-mortar promise to the streets that raised him. The crowd was a tapestry of Miami's soul abuelas in bright scarves, teens in snapbacks, vendors from the mercado clapping to the conga band's beat. Luz, his secretary, stood near the front, her kids tugging her hands, their laughter louder than the neon signs. Carlos, his driver and oldest friend, leaned against a street lamp, his arm scarred from the warehouse brawl that saved Dupe. The center was simple brick walls, a basketball court, rooms for tutoring and art, but it was a beacon, funded by Silas's savings and the grit of a city that wouldn't quit. Admo Properties had clawed back, leaner but honest, its stock creeping up. This was his redemption, not just for himself, but for everyone who'd carried him through. Silas tapped the mic, the feedback sharp, and the crowd hushed. Miami, he said, his voice rough but warm. This ain't my place. It's ours. I came up on these streets, scrappin', dreamin', dodgin' bullets. Didn't have nothing like this. But I had folks, my mom, my crew, the ones who kept me going. This is for them, for every kid with a fire in their gut. He paused, throat tight. The crowd's cheers a wave. I lost it all, my company, my trust, my damn heart. But y'all didn't let me fall. You showed up, and this is my way of saying thanks. The ribbon fell, red silk hitting the pavement, and the crowd roared. Kids swarmed the court, dribbling balls, while the band kicked into a meringue. Silas stepped down, shaking hands, hugging strangers, his chest lighter than it had been in years. Luce grabbed him, eyes wet. You did it. Mr. Admo, this is real. Couldn't have without you, Silas said, ruffling her son's hair. You kept me straight. Carlos clapped his back, grinning. Big shot now. Huh. Making us look good, hermano. Silas chuckled, the sound foreign but right. But his eyes scanned the crowd, searching for one face. Dupé. She wasn't here. Hadn't been for months. After the press conference, when Miami's support had saved his company, she'd stayed just long enough to see him steady, then left. My work's done. Sir, she'd said, her voice soft but unyielding. He'd offered her everything money. A job, a home, but she'd shaken her head, her smile sad. You saved yourself, Mr. Admo. I just pointed the way. Letting her go had hurt like losing family, because that's what she'd become, the spark that lit his path through the dark. Her absence was a quiet ache. But she'd left something behind, a letter, tucked into his desk, unopened. He'd been too raw to read it, too scared of the goodbye it held. Tonight, with Calle Ocho alive and his city's heartbeat in his veins, he felt ready. He slipped away, finding a quiet spot by a mural of a Cuban flag, its colors weathered but proud. The letter was worn, Dupe's handwriting small and careful. He tore it open, hands unsteady, and read, Mr. Admo. I'm gone by now, off to Atlanta for school social work, to help folks like my brother, who's graduating thanks to your pay. I'm okay, but this ain't about me. You're a good man, sir, even when you couldn't see it. I stayed 'cause you reminded me of my dad, someone worth fighting for. You took back your name, your city, and that's bigger than any bank account. Trust your heart, but watch your back. The world's rough, but you're rougher. Live right. Mr. Admo, your family. Dupe. Silas's eyes burned, the words blurring. He pressed the letter to his chest, the mural's colors dancing in the twilight. Family, not Mariah, not Toby, but Dupe, Luce, Carlos, the people of Little Havana who'd stood by him when he was nothing. He'd chased wealth to fill a void, but this connection, purpose, was what made him whole. A voice pulled him back. You good. Silas Elena, a teacher he'd met at a charity event, stood there, her curly hair loose, her smile warm. At 35, she was real no chase for status, just a love for books and kids. They'd started as friends, sharing coffee, swapping stories. Tonight, she'd helped run the center's opening. Her energy a steady hum. Yeah, Silas said, pocketing the letter, reading something that hit hard. Elena nodded, her brown eyes soft. You built a home here, Silas, for so many. That's bigger than any deal you ever closed. He looked at her, feeling a spark hope. Maybe, or something new. Didn't do it alone, he said, voice low. Had a lot of hands. She grinned, nudging him. Family. Right, he nodded, the word settling deep. They rejoined the party, Elena pulling him into a clumsy salsa as the band played on. The crowd cheered, kids darting through, the air thick with sweat and joy. Silas danced, awkward but alive. Elena's laugh pulling him from the shadows. For the first time, he wasn't running from the past. Across the country, in a modest Atlanta apartment, Dupe sat at a desk, textbooks piled high, a single lamp casting a warm glow. The city was different, quieter, colder than Miami, but it felt like a beginning. Her phone pinged, a photo from Luce of the center's opening, Silas cutting the ribbon, his smile wide. Dupe traced it, her heart full. She'd left Miami, but not him, not really. He was family, the kind that stayed no matter the miles. She stepped onto her balcony, Atlanta's skyline a jagged glow, thinking of her dad, her brother, the life she was carving. A knock came a neighbor, a single mom, needing help with a shady landlord. I got you, Dupe said, stepping inside, ready for another fight. Her work wasn't about saving heroes. It was about showing up, being a light in the dark. Back in Miami, Silas stood on the center's court, the party fading, stars piercing the sky. A new mural gleamed. Familia is forever, scrawled in fresh paint. He touched it, the letter in his pocket, a quiet weight. Dupe was out there, fighting her battles, just like him. Elena joined him, handing over a café con leche, steam curling in the night. What's next? Silas, she asked, voice soft. He sipped, the bitterness grounding him. Keep building. Live right. He paused, meeting her eyes. Maybe see where this goes, you and me. Her smile was bright, unguarded. No hurry. We got time. Silas nodded. The scars of 2 years' betrayal, loss, redemption, settling into something he could bear. Miami stretched before him, its grit and glory intertwined, a city that didn't quit. Neither would he. The future was open, uncertain, but he wasn't afraid. He had family, not the one he'd chosen, but the one that chose him. That was enough. So, my ladies, who's your family when the shit hits the fan? Silas found his, and Dupe's still out there, lighting the way. Drop your story in the comments, what kept you going when it all crashed. Smash that subscribe button. We're chasing Dupe's next tale, and Miami's got more to spill. Let's keep rolling. Let's